Welcome back, everyone, to the weekly Armchair Kickoff podcast. This evening, I am joined by Jamie Mackey-Murphy, podcast regular Steve McGrath, and Jack Clemson. So today, lads, we are going to discuss the Premier League final day. Now, back in March when football was suspended, we didn't think we'd get to this day. I, for one, share the feeling that it's a fantastic kind of day to have. We're going to have all the ups and downs of the final day, but I'm so happy that we're going to experience it. Lads, how are you feeling about the final day coming up?
Nervous.
Extremely
nervous.
Easy to be optimistic for a Spurs fan.
I suppose, like, from our point of view, Jamie, I don't know, like, maybe you'll agree with me, but when Jose came in, we were 14th. And a lot of us had basically written off the season from Spurs' perspective. So at this point, looking at the table, to be like, we're 5 points off third, like, that's not that bad at all to see. Like, as I said in the clip today, that Jose today in an interview said that we're the champions of the last 5 games.
Yeah, but
yeah, look, it's look, where we are now, I'm happy considering where we were. So look, I know there's a lot of fans saying, "Oh, we don't want to be in Europe and all this." I want to be in Europe, especially with Mourinho there and the Europa League. Like, he keeps saying to the players, like last week he was telling all the players, he said, 2 more games and we win the Europa League. 2 more wins, because that's basically he's going to go for it next year. So I'm looking forward to that campaign.
Absolutely. And like Jose Mourinho, like at Man United, he kind of made it very clear that he was going for that trophy as well. And when it comes to European competition, Jose Mourinho is a specialist. So you definitely have, if you get Europa League qualification, it's definitely maybe the first trophy of many. Could start something new. It's big at Tottenham.
We just need our friends Chelsea to do us a little favour.
Yeah, well, we need Man United to do us a favour. So it's a horrible time, isn't it?
Horrible time for you, absolutely.
None of us are really in the predicament that we really want to be in, to be honest. So Man United are relying on themselves, which is probably the worst team to be relying on. So.
Absolutely. So Jack, I'm going to come to you first with kind of regards to this first topic. The race for the top 4 is very close at the moment. You have Leicester, Man United and Chelsea fighting for 2 spots. Yourselves, you're playing Wolverhampton Wanderers on Sunday.
Going to Jack because the rest of us aren't involved in it.
I'm going to get your opinions on the top 4 first. I'll get your opinions on it. But I'm just going to come to Jack first with relation to it. So on Sunday, like, you're playing Wolves, and Wolves have been very good all season. Now, look, I know you had a loss yesterday against Liverpool, and a very entertaining 5-3 affair yesterday. Like, how are you feeling about Sunday? Would you be very confident that Chelsea will get top 4 qualification?
The one thing positive I can say about it is that it's still in our hands. So on that basis, look, I think we're in a really good position. I mean, the fact that Liverpool, Man United and Leicester are playing is probably the biggest bonus for us in the world, really, to get top 4. So I think, to be honest with you, I think we will get a result. I couldn't even call the Man United Leicester game. It's a really difficult one. So I out of the 3 teams, I think I prefer our position the most, to be honest, because I mean, it's really out of whoever wins out of the other game is who's going to go through. And look, obviously, if we lose and Leicester win, then that's really the only scenario. But we can still lose and go through, which is also a positive, like, you know.
Absolutely. And like, do you feel like, obviously, with Chelsea's form, like, during the season now, look, Frank Lampard has done a fantastic job coming out of the transfer ban and, like, you know, losing Eden Hazard and bleeding in young players. But do you almost feel like, is this a missed opportunity for yourself? Do you think that you maybe should have top 4 sewn up because you've had such a big distance to United, like, especially kind of previously in the season? Do you maybe feel like this should be wrapped up by now?
It's hard to. It's been a really weird season. I mean, like, in terms of form, we could be brilliant one game and then absolutely rubbish the next. So I don't even. I wouldn't even go into form. And this is like a final anyway for all of us, for Leicester, Man United as well. So I think we've probably done better than I expected us to do. I didn't think we would get anywhere near top 4 this year, if I'm being completely honest. So I'm surprised. So I'm just happy, that we're still in it. We can still qualify for Champions League. We can still win a trophy again. We always seem to be able to pull it out the bag.
Thanks for reminding me about that, actually.
Well, look, listen, you gave it away. You were playing really, really well, and you were just, I don't know what happened, to be honest. You just folded like a deck of cards, so I don't know. That's on you. I mean, we played well, but you played equally as poor as we played well, so we won't get into that, I suppose. I don't want to upset you.
Oh no, I already had enough rants about that on the other podcast on Monday, so I'm not going to repeat myself. I think obviously from Man United perspective, look, when we came out of lockdown, we were on very good form, but I think more or less fatigue is after setting in for us. We played the same starting lineup, I think, for like 5 games straight, and having likes Nemanja Matic, who's 31, 32 years of age and playing 5 games straight, can't sustain it. Paul Pogba back from injury, promising start, but he hasn't lived up to his full potential. Now obviously Bruno Fernandes looks absolutely knackered and doesn't look like to be getting any more penalties anytime soon. I thought I'd just throw that in there.
Before someone else does.
But I think it's a very big game for United Sunday, especially for future signings. It's been mooted obviously that if United get Champions League football, we will get Jadon Sancho in, which would be a very big plus. And if we want to attract big players to the club for big positions like centre half and holding midfield who are top level, we're going to have Champions League football, because with our owners we won't invest if we don't have that. Steve, what do you think with regards to top 4? Who do you think is who's going to come out on top on Sunday? Who do you think is going to get qualification for the Champions League?
Chelsea and United.
Can you say that a bit louder, Steve?
Yeah, look, I think that run that United went on is obviously. I think you should get some reward from going that length of time unbeaten. Chelsea, I think, they've done enough to have earned it at this point. Just as long as they beat Arsenal in the cup final. I can't have that.
I think we can all agree with that.
Yeah. So look, I think I suppose absolutely. I'm very, very, very disappointed that we're not sat here talking about is it going to be Chelsea, United, or Spurs getting top 4. But out of it, look, I think I've, as I've said in the group chat for a number of weeks now, at this point, it's United they're going to get it, they will.
And Jamie, do you think maybe there'd be a spanner in the works? Do you maybe think Leicester City might surprise us all? They've had a real downturn in form since we've restarted, and they don't look like the same team since New Year's Day. Since after Christmas, Leicester have just been horrible. Do you think maybe that for this one game that they can turn up and maybe to knock United out of the top 4?
If United really go for it, they could be in trouble on the break. We played Leicester on Sunday, and the reason why we had so much success was because we played such a low block, and Vardy had no joy in behind it all. With United, potentially they could be caught in the break with Vardy's pace. I actually think that Wolves and Chelsea game is really interesting, because Chelsea's record defensively this season hasn't been great, as we all know, and Kepa hasn't been great either. I think against Wolves it could be a straight shootout. In that situation, anybody could win. So I think Chelsea mightn't be out of it just by the Wolves game. I think that Wolves could win that game. But I think Leicester United. I can see Leicester getting a result against United, actually. I just think that United are a confidence team currently. I know you're saying about fatigue as well, but a big part of that last 2 games seems to be in confidence too. They just seem a little bit void at the moment. Even the other night when they got the goal, when Greenwood got the goal, didn't really see much out of them to really push on to get that second. when they really needed it. I think that could be maybe a mistake that they've made this season, and they might learn to regret that. Like West Ham were really there for the taking, and leaving on to the last day of the season against Leicester, it's a little bit dangerous for you. And I think actually probably the opposite to what Steve was saying. I don't think maybe you do deserve it, but you don't always get what you deserve, and sometimes it can go the opposite way completely, and then it'll be seen as a real bad season then for you if you finish fifth. Like, you may have had a good run after the break and all, but if you finish fifth this season, especially with the momentum you had for those couple of games, it's not going to be a good season for you, and it kind of puts you into it. It's kind of hard to into the summer then and into the transfer window. I don't know who you could attract really in the Europa League at the moment. We're going to find it hard to attract players. We're going to have to buy players that suit our system and suit our team. But United will need to buy players, obviously, that will be big attractions to, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, look, it's an interesting Sunday, but I think there's a span in the works still there. I don't think it's over yet. We all know. Like, last Sunday, you probably would have thought United would have bet Chelsea in the FA Cup, and obviously it was the other way around. So, within 7 days, United season could be potentially round.
Absolutely. And look, one thing I'll always say about United, we always do it the hard way. We always have to do it the hard way. We never make anything easier for ourselves. It just breaks my fucking heart. I wish we just, we should have it wrapped up by now. Like, I'm going to be an absolute nervous wreck on Sunday. Like,
I've been a Spurs fan for 30 years.
With relation to Spurs, Steve, and like, you're in the race for the Europa League now. You did point out earlier, obviously, when Jose came in, you were 14th in the table, and it didn't look at that time that you're going to get any sort of European football. Fast forward now, like, you're potentially getting Europa League, and it could provide a springboard for yourselves, for future success. Like, how do you feel about the other teams around you, like the Sheffield United and stuff like that? Do you think that you're going to have enough on Sunday and you're going to get qualification?
Well, look, we're guaranteed seventh. Obviously, we're 4 points above Sheffield United, so that's a given. The issue being, if Arsenal win the FA Cup, I don't even want to talk about that. But we're 1 point behind and a goal ahead of Wolves. So all we have to do basically is better their result. I think, Jamie, if you remember, like back in September last year, you called over to my house and we watched Spurs against Palace, this reverse fixture for Sunday.
Yeah.
We were 4-0 up at half time, cruising. We had a couple of bad games before it, and myself and Jamie were there. We're back, boy. This is it now. Going on from here, 4-0 up at half time. This could be any score. And then next second half, we just sat back, let them come at us. It was a bit nervy, but we kept the clean sheet. We're like, this is it now. This is the start of our season, and it went so wrong from there. Like, but Palace are off the back. They're 7 defeats on the trot now.
Yeah.
Like Dr. Tottenham. I just like it's just we've always been the cure for a bad run, always. So that's why like I'd be almost more inclined to have more of an eye on the Chelsea game than I will have on our own game on Sunday.
I agree with that, yeah, absolutely. And look, the Dr. Tottenham thing is that's a real thing. Like, that is a real thing.
It is.
We've seen in the past that teams could be on the worst run of all time, and we will be the one that will.
Your player hasn't scored in 5 years in the Premier League. Bring him on. That hat trick. Yeah.
And Jamie, like, how do you feel about the game against Palace on Sunday? Like, obviously they've threats like Sir Patrick and Van Aanholt was playing very well for him, and they do have Wilfried Zaha. He's a fantastic player. Do you feel almost that Jose Mourinho will be the right manager to kind of have you tactically well set up tactically in relation to Sunday?
Yeah, I suppose you kind of answered the question there yourself. I think he will be. I think he's probably the right style defensively to frustrate Palace. We're looking fairly good at the back, in fairness. Like, our players haven't been making many individual mistakes. I think it's 12 goals they scored and 2 conceded in the last 5. Is that right, Steve?
And it was the 3 against Sheffield United.
Yeah. So we're looking good defensively. I think it's the game against Leicester really showed that, look, if you can be potent and you can take your chances, like we know that we have the quality up front to do. I think Palace should be a fairly okay game for us on Sunday. I think we'll frustrate.
I'm sick of the opposite of that, Jamie. It's like we've never been clinical enough. Like I'm sick of and I said it on Twitter during the week. People are giving out about having 30% possession against Arsenal and 30% possession against Leicester, but 6 points. How many games over the last couple of seasons have Spurs come out with 70% possession, 20 shots on goal, 10 on target, and we lost 1-0? Do you know? At the moment now, I'll take those games that we're having right now.
There was that stat too, weren't they? The Champions League final, where it was our possession was nearly the exact same as what Leicester's was on Sunday, and their shots on target were as well. But we're sitting here 12 months later and we haven't got a Champions League, even though we had better possession in that game. Or even I think there was 2 games that we played against Jose for Chelsea, against United in the FA Cup semi-final. Exact same situation. Possession stats were all in favour of us.
Lost 4-2.
Lost 4-2.
Jermaine Genius was on BBC. Was it BBC Sport and said Tottenham should have went through that day.
Yeah,
that day, weren't they? Yeah.
But they didn't. That's the whole thing about it. So the possession thing. I actually enjoyed the game last Sunday. I actually enjoyed watching the game last Sunday. It wasn't a case that I watched it and I was like, oh my god, this is fucking dire. This is so bad to watch. First half was probably the most excited I was in probably 6 months. But none of it isn't saying much really. But I actually was excited. The way we broke last week was unbelievable, and I think me and Steve have both been massive critics of Lucas Moura this season. But the last 3 or 4 games, he hasn't been effectively scoring and assisting much, but he's the heart of absolutely everything.
2 assists on Sunday.
2 assists on Sunday, but even the game.
And that long ball, that long ball he played to Keane as well. It looked like an absolute hoof, but it was actually a precision long ball to Keane.
Against Arsenal, he had 11 successful tackles, which was the most of any other players in 5 seasons. So that speaks volumes. But look, the way I kind of look at it is next year. Yeah, exactly. Next year, Europa League is where we need to really be at. I don't agree with Spurs fans saying that we don't need Europe. We do need Europe. We need something to springboard us, potentially win. And I suppose going back to, United fans that are saying, look, Jose is finished and all this kind of stuff. If we have Jose for one more season next season and we finish second in the table and we win Europa League, I'll be absolutely delighted. That's all I want. If that happened next season, I'd be very happy, and I wouldn't care if we finished 10% possession in games if we won 1-0 games all season.
And we have to pay Jose 50 million to get him out of his contract.
Jack, how are you feeling? Do you think maybe, obviously yourselves, you have to do them a favour? Do you think Tottenham? Do you think Jose will kind of provide kind of a platform for Tottenham to maybe win 1 or 2 trophies in the future?
What side are you on, Jack, for Jose? As a Chelsea fan?
What side am I on?
Yeah.
I love the Jose when he first came to England. He was confident, arrogant, but backed it up. He was entertaining. But as the time's gone on, it's like he's become, in his press interviews especially, his personality soured, whereas it's not funny anymore. The stuff he comes out with all the time, it's more negative. I think his tactics, look, there's no doubt he's still a great manager. Look, I don't want to knock him because he's our greatest ever manager, really. But I just don't think he's the same Jose Mourinho as he was, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, even, when he was absolutely winning leagues for fun. There wasn't a manager on the planet that could come anywhere near him. I don't think you can say that now. But having said that, I don't think there's any better manager for Tottenham right now. If you do get Europa next year, I think he's the type of manager that will come in, maybe get you a trophy, and I think he'll move on then. I don't think he'll stay. But I think if he can get you something in Europe, I think there's no better manager really to get you that now, to be honest with you. And I think Daniel Levy knows that. So I don't know. It's a tough one. People criticise the Europa League. Me personally, like, who doesn't want to be in a trophy? Like, I know it's not as glamorous when you compare it to the Champions League, but it's still a Thursday night football that you get to watch your team play in Europe, you know, like, and win a trophy. Like, Chelsea have won a trophy a couple of times, the Europa League a couple of times in the last few years, and it's still a great feeling to see your team win that trophy.
Like, I couldn't bear like the sitting there like from Spurs playing a game on a Saturday and then wait until the next Saturday to watch them again. Like, you know.
Exactly. You get that extra game in midweek, and to me, the European games in midweek are some of the best because, you know, it breaks up the week for you. Then, as you say, wait until the next week, and half the time you can't even watch the game on a Sunday or a Saturday anyway because it's not on TV, unless you've got an illegal dodgy box, we call them. I've heard of them. I've not got one myself, obviously, but
we won't plug
like
these
the trips
boxes
over as well. But like me traveling over to games as well. I enjoy a European night, you know. Like, I know the last one I was at was the Leipzig one at home where we got smashed, but it's just the feeling of a European game in the stadium, whether it was the new stadium or whether it was White Hart Lane. It's a completely different feeling, different atmosphere. You've the foreign fans there. Like, it's a different feeling altogether, you know. And I'd hate to not be able to experience that for a whole season. Like,
and let's be honest as well. It's a lot cheaper to buy a ticket for a Europa League game than a Champions League game.
Not with Daniel Levy as your chairman.
True. Fair point.
On Europa League, though, I think for years we were in the Europa League. And I think the biggest problem we always had was probably squad depth.
Absolutely.
And I think that we always had to focus on the league too much. I don't think it was the managers weren't ambitious enough to play and try and win the Europa League. I think it was the fact that we just hadn't got the players.
I think the attitude was there, Jamie. That was like, well, we're not going to win it anyway. So
yeah, exactly. But now it's
why would you bother wasting players?
Exactly.
Didn't Harry Kane play his first couple of Tottenham games in the Europa League?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he played in goal against Shamrock Rovers.
He scored a hat trick, and then Lloris got sent off. So he's like, after scoring his hat trick, so he goes, I'll go in. And then for the free kick then that was taken, he got this like cushy little free kick that was straight at him, and he fumbled it into the goal, lost the clean sheet.
I actually remember that. An old Chelsea, Tottenham legend was playing for Shamrock at the time. Remember Rowan Ricketts?
Rowan Ricketts.
Yeah.
Lads, let's get on to the next topic. The relegation battle. Very heated. It's very close at the bottom. Yeah. On Sunday we have Watford playing Arsenal. Villa are playing West Ham, and Bournemouth are playing Everton.
It's a shame West Ham aren't still going down. Go on anyway.
Sorry about that, Steve. That's our fault. But like, with regards to this, lads, like, obviously Watford had Nigel Pearson in, and, you know, he done a fantastic job kind of pulling them out of certain relegation. Now look, at the moment they still possibly could get relegated. Like, they're playing Arsenal on Sunday. Like, how do you feel about the whole kind of Nigel Pearson sacking from Watford? Do you think it was justified, or do you think it's another moment of madness from the Watford board?
I'll jump in first before I go, just to like, I really hope Watford go down for that. That's absolutely terrible carry on, to be honest. Also, they have a couple of players that I wouldn't mind at Spurs as well if we were to go. But look, I think Villa have enough about them. I think West Ham are safe, and like, as much as they taught themselves up on that, that's their aim every year, is to stay in the Premier League. So they have that done now. They might ease off a little bit, but anyway, I think Villa have enough about him now. If a little bit of quality back with McGinn after coming back from his injury, he seems to have kind of gotten over that now as well. So I think they'll see West Ham off. Arsenal, Watford, I know historically they don't get along. So, you know, Deeney's going to want to prove his point there. But I don't know. I just don't see it. So, for me, anyway, going down is Watford and Bournemouth.
Watford and Bournemouth. Yeah, look, I'll be honest myself. Now, selfishly, I'd like to see Aston Villa go down, even though what Watford done to Nigel Pearson was absolutely scandalous. Absolutely disgraceful. They should have kept him for them last 2 games.
You just want to get Jack Grealish at a knockdown price. That's why he wants Aston Villa to go down.
I'm not
Grealish
advocating.
and Sancho, and he's going to play up alongside who? Martial and Rashford and Fernandes and who else? Come on.
But Steve, you have to realise any team that wants to be successful has squad depth. Like look at Man City. Come on, look at all the other teams that are successful that won leagues in the past. And look at the United teams that won leagues in the past. We've had very big squad depth. Like when we won the treble, we had York, Cole, Sheringham, and Solskjaer as our 4 strikers, and they all played a lot of games.
Goals.
Well, we do. Like
you're not going to play Grealish centre half, are you?
But what happens when if Bruno Fernandes gets injured or Paul Pogba gets injured and you have to bring Fred on? Do you know what I mean?
If you're looking at Villa for players, you should be looking at Tyrone Mings.
I love Tyrone Mings. I love him.
Same. Him or Nathan Ake. Out of the teams that are going down are at that end of the table. Mings or Ake, both left-footed, and like with Vertonghen obviously on the way out, he's a natural replacement. They are natural replacements for him, left centre back. But of the two, I think Ake probably has the higher ceiling. But at the moment, I think Mings is the better player.
Absolutely. And look, there are 2 very good centre halves, and if one of them go down, like, do you know what I mean? You probably get them at about, 20, 30 million. Do you know what I mean?
Ake's going to Man City, though, isn't he? I think they're in talks with him already.
I've seen that, yeah.
So I don't know about that one now. He was brilliant. We should never have let him go. And we could have signed him again at a reduced price, but that clause has gone, I think, since the last transfer window, which is a shame because I'd love him back, to be honest.
And Jamie, like, how do you feel about the whole relegation side of things? Do you feel like obviously they could Watford stay up? Do you think maybe Villa are going to go down, or do you think are Bournemouth dead? Like, who do you think's going down on Sunday?
Look, Bournemouth look like they're dead in the water. Really, I don't see Bournemouth coming out of it. I really see it's just between.
Thanks very much, Steve. Thanks for coming on.
Watford and Aston Villa, really, they're the 2 ones I think that we're looking at. I agree with Steve. I want Watford to go down. I think it's an absolute disgraceful decision to make. So close to the end of the season as well. Especially after what Nigel Pearson has done. He's definitely gotten out of that battle. I think they could have been closer to Norwich at this stage now than if he wasn't the manager last 6-7 months. So I think Watford have to go down. Look, West Ham would probably win on Sunday. Arsenal will probably win on Sunday against Watford.
Is that the Emirates?
At the Emirates. I know obviously at the moment doesn't really make a difference home or away, but I still think that Arsenal will win on Sunday and Villa will beat West Ham. Villa haven't looked too bad the last couple of games, in fairness. They've looked better. They look better. And look, the one thing I would say about Villa too is everyone talks about Leeds coming up. It'd be good to have Villa and Leeds back in the league next year again, and because they are, I suppose, 2 of the originals from the 90s, and they're 2 big clubs. So
I'd personally, and I know this sounds like the Man United side coming out at me, but Leeds going up the next season, I'd love to see him go straight back down. I don't know about you, but I'd love to see him go straight back down.
Yeah, look, the other side of it is that, like, if you hate a club so much too, it's good to play him into it every year and beat him.
Absolutely. Like, one thing I'm hoping, like, when the fans are got back into the stadium, I hope that we don't play Leeds before then, because I want to get over to Old Trafford, because I experienced the City game, I've experienced Liverpool, I've experienced us play Chelsea. Unfortunately, we're on the losing side of that one, but I've experienced us playing Arsenal. I've experienced us kind of playing all the big teams. I'd love to maybe get to a Leeds game, and look, whatever happens, but I suppose it's trying to complete the kind of all the big clubs, really.
That's the one bonus for West Ham out next season, is just to make them look forward to the fixture again and knock them straight back down again. You know what I mean? Like, that's the whole point.
And Leeds have the infrastructure of a top 4 club. They have the stadium, they have the fan base. Look, they've had a terrible time, and I don't know what's gone on behind the scenes that has left them where they are, but Leeds are a good club and they're a massive club, and they absolutely should be fighting it out with the top teams in the league again. And as you say, Jamie, I'd love Aston Villa as well, back in the old, Jesus, when I was a kid, I remember watching them play. They had some great players. Leeds, I mean, never forget Tony Yeboah's absolute hammer of a strike into the top. I think it was the left-hand corner or the right-hand corner. I can't remember, but I don't know. I'd like Villa to stay up purely because the John Terry connection, maybe. as well. I don't really know what went on with Watford's the sacking of Watford's manager. To be honest with you, I'm not sure why they sacked him, but I can see them going down. To be honest, and interestingly, there's only a 1 or 2 goal swing in it, I think, between the 3 teams.
Yeah, there's only
they're all on minus 28. I think Bournemouth are on minus 28, Villa are on like minus 27, and Watford are on minus 27. It's something like that.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. It's something really small in terms of, so like if both Villa and Watford lose, and then Bournemouth win, it'll be interesting because then they could go above them in terms of goal difference.
Yeah,
Joe, I think Bournemouth deserve to go down though. Like, look, I suppose Eddie Howe doesn't have a plan B, and like, look, I love Eddie Howe. He's a really nice guy. He's a really Joe. He seems like a real honest man. But I think Joe, he's after been found out this season. He's no plan B. Like, and I think he's probably a championship level manager.
Apparently, what they're saying too is actually the opposite of what you're saying. That there's times when he can't be. He isn't a really nice guy, and apparently he kind of, I suppose, sections players out and doesn't make him part of the group, especially older players. So whether that's affected the overall morale of the team over the course of the season, but look, those 3 teams that potentially could go down. There's players from each of those teams that a lot of the top 6 will probably take on board. So I think even though like the relegation battle won't be much interest to us as fans of those teams, it's definitely interesting to see who we can buy next season for all 3 clubs.
Absolutely.
Chelsea and Spurs, because like there is a massive amount of talent across the board.
A few little gems there.
Yeah, and look, all it takes is taking one of those players out of it and just popping into a squad, and it could make a massive difference. It could make a massive, like Ake to United could be a massive sign. Ake back to Chelsea could be a massive sign. You know what I mean? I don't know the odds of that happening, but I think Ake probably, if he would have stayed maybe a season or 2 longer, he would have slotted straight in under Lampard's methods this season.
He would 100% be starting. 100%, he would be starting if he was under Lampard.
Yeah,
his composure. Now if you look at him, he doesn't really look like your typical centre back. I mean, he's not massively built or anything like that.
He looks like a little defensive midfielder. He does.
Looks like a DM, absolutely.
His intelligence is just second to none. His composure. He's a leader. He'll absolutely captain the side soon. He's just an all-round. He's just one of them players. I don't know. He's just got it. He's just a good player. And it was even when we let him go, every Chelsea fan tell you we knew at the time it was a mistake, and I don't really understand why. But it just obviously the way managers were at the time, our youth players never got a look in, and it's a shame really, because if Lampard was in charge, he would absolutely be starting centre back now, no question.
He starts straight into City's team, doesn't he? Like in terms of like
easily
back and everything. It's just like
I think he's perfect for them. Do you know what? He's like an upgrade on John Stones. He's good with the ball at his feet. He's good to play it out from the back, but he's also a really good defender and intelligent. So I think he's an absolute upgrade on John Stones, and I think if he does go, he'll probably see the end of him at Man City.
Do you know what though? The only problem I have with Nathan Ake at Man City, he's a left-sided centre back, and so is Laporte.
Yeah. And
Laporte, both of them really can't really use their right foot now. I know like good players can obviously adapt, but balance. Pep Guardiola's teams are all about balance.
Yeah.
There has to be a method behind the madness, though. I don't think Pep would just buy him for no reason. Yeah, there must be a reason behind thinking of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, don't know how he's going to start into his team, where he's going to play. Like, you don't even know. Like, we've talked about his intelligence. So, like, he could even be a replacement for Fernandinho. We just don't know the way Pep thinks. Like, he could play him in defensive midfield next season. You just don't know. Like,
yeah.
And look, don't forget, I suppose Man City could be playing a silly amount of games next season as well. So, and they've always had a bit of trouble with centre backs staying fit. So, I don't think it would be too much of an issue, to be honest.
Laporte has had injury problems over the last season, I suppose. So.
Yeah.
yeah, look, that could be a massive factor for it too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely, yes. So I'm going to get to the kind of, since we're kind of the last like weekend of Premier League football for the 2019-2020 season, I'm going to get to our kind of end of season awards. Now, look, I know the players and managers probably won't even hear about these awards and, you know, us giving them to them, how we nominate them, but, you know, we'll give them to them anyway. So firstly, lads, I'm going to get to your player of the season. So Steve actually told me his player of the season, so I'm going to go through all of Steve's now, and then, you know what, we get to our own. So Steve's player of the season was Kevin De Bruyne from Manchester City. His young player of the season was Trent Alexander-Arnold from Liverpool, and his manager of the year is Chris Wilder from Sheffield United. So firstly, Jamie, I'm going to come to you first. Can you give me your player of the season and why?
Kevin De Bruyne. I don't think City will be where they are even a second without his contribution this season. The reason why I don't give it to a Liverpool player is because Liverpool have worked really well as a team this season. They've had some good individual performances, but I feel that Kevin De Bruyne has just been one of the shining lights in terms of City's team this season. Like, his assists are unbelievable. I think he's the one player too that you would put in any side probably in Europe within the Premier League. He's the one player in the league I always look to when we're playing a team over the course of the season. He's the one player I like watching playing against my team, but I hate watching him at the same time because I know how dangerous he can be. His assists are absolutely ridiculous. Like, it isn't only just straightforward assists. Some of them are absolutely unbelievable. The way he crosses the ball, the way he finds angles, he's just unbelievable. So yeah, he'd be my player of the season by a good bit too, a really good bit. I think if City lost him this season, they would have lost a lot of his team, a lot of their team.
Jack, who is your player of the season?
It pains me to say this, and I'm going to say Joey Henderson, and I'll tell you why. He, in terms of caliber of player compared to, listen, I know it pains me. And Kevin De Bruyne, he's not anywhere near as good technically as Kevin De Bruyne, but I think he has had to work so hard to get to the level that he's at, to captain the Liverpool side that are unbelievable. And he's a great captain now, in fairness. You can tell that on the pitch. He talks to his players, something that Chelsea lacks. I don't think he'll ever have as good a season as he has had this season. As I say, just to clarify, he's nowhere near on the level of De Bruyne, but his character, I think he deserves it this year, I think, to be honest.
I think I'm just in a state of shock right now. Someone on this podcast actually gave to Henderson.
Yeah, it sickens me to have to say it, unfortunately, but
how is Gary Egan blackmailing you? Please tell me right now.
He has nudes.
Because that's the only thing I can think about right now.
Look, I could be bitter and just give it to someone else, but to be honest, I think he deserves it. He's a great captain. He's a good character on the pitch. Pulls the team together, if you ask me.
Fair enough.
And he's probably nowhere near one of their top players, but that just goes to show the character. He has to work at it, where some of them, like De Bruyne, just comes naturally to be that good every year, whereas I don't think he has that. He has to work at
it. My player of the year is Trent Alexander-Arnold. Now, Steve went to him as the young player of the year, but I have him as my player of the year. I think Trent this season, for a full-back to have this much influence over one team, is absolutely unbelievable. Like, he scored many goals and many assists, and he's got many assists for Liverpool. And for Liverpool's front three, especially Salah, he's so important for that team. Like, what he provides on the outside right for the overlap and the assists he gets, and his link-up play for Liverpool is absolutely fantastic. And the fact you've alluded to Henderson, Jack, I think Alexander-Arnold is probably Henderson's replacement in midfield. Alexander-Arnold he played all his youth career in midfield, and his range of passing is just unbelievable. And for a player of his age, that to be that good in terms of getting goals and assists. I think he's absolutely fantastic. He's a great player. Now, look, it kind of sickens me to give a Liverpool player of the season, but like, look, it's absolutely deserved that they won the league, and he's been a very big part of that. And I think for me, Trent is player of the year.
He's quite good at a free kick as well.
Yeah, he can whip in a free kick. It's like David Beckham-esque almost.
Yeah, he done it to us last night.
Just one final point about De Bruyne in terms of an argument for him. Okay, it probably goes unnoticed because of the fact that he's just so good. But like, how many seasons did he play in the Premier League now? 4, is it 4 or 5?
4.5, yeah, 4.5, 5.
4.5.
Oh no, sorry, because he was gone for a while, wasn't he? Yeah, sorry, yeah.
He's had 4.5 seasons, right? So he's playing in his 4th or 5th season now, and teams still haven't figured out how he does things. He still has that knack of finding space, even though teams will probably make a game plan to try and nullify him, and he's still turning at the numbers he does every week, which is unbelievable, I think.
It must be Jose Mourinho's biggest regret, because he's a Chelsea fan. He would still be there now if we played him, but Mourinho never gave him the time of day, unfortunately.
So lads, with regards to this player of the year, one thing we're gonna try something here. We need to come to agreement as to kind of who really deserves it now. Look, I know there's 3 of us. If Steve was here, I suppose Kevin De Bruyne actually gets it, because 2 out of the 4 of us have said that Kevin De Bruyne deserves it. So
I could be easily swayed to change my mind, actually, now thinking on it.
In fairness, though, Keane, I do agree with the fact that Trent was my young player of the year. So I wouldn't have got a problem with making the agreement that he would get player of the season as well, because, as you said, his assists are unbelievable this season. The 13 assists in the league.
Yeah.
25 in the last 2 seasons, or 24 in the last 2 seasons. Like, there hasn't been many, if any, defenders who've ever, I suppose, contributed.
Like, even Gary Neville in his prime for United in his prime years never kind of contributed that many, them numbers.
No, he's different. He's a different breed, and he's a different class. Like, they're a different type of player now at them, than what Gary Neville used to play. But there's one person I just want to give a shout out who I think has had a really good season. Is Luca Digne for Everton. I just wanted to. He's obviously not on the same. You can't put him as player of the year, but it's just one player I want to mention who I thought has come over and he has done absolutely brilliantly for Everton as well. So
he's a very consistent player. He's very good. I'm surprised Barcelona let him go.
They'd love him now.
Barcelona's recruitment policy is absolutely shocking. At the moment, there's something about it where they're not using any scientific information at all in terms of actually recruitment. So leaving there probably isn't a team in England that Digne wouldn't play for now. I think
I take him at United.
I'd take him all day long. All day.
You know what I mean? I think even City would take him, because obviously Mendy hasn't always hit the ground running. So I think there isn't a team. Maybe Liverpool would. He might even start for Liverpool. Robertson has been given some really big numbers, but I think he would run Robertson very close, Digne.
Yeah.
So lads, I think we're in full agreement anyway. With the weekly Armchair Kickoff Premier League Player of the Year is Kevin De Bruyne.
Yeah, absolutely.
So lads, we're going to get to the Young Player of the Year now. Jamie, you've just given the reason. You said Trent Alexander-Arnold is your Young Player of the Year.
Yeah, sorry I gave it away so early. I just couldn't keep it in.
Couldn't hold it in.
Couldn't hold it in.
So obviously you've kind of made the same point as myself. Obviously because of his goals and assists and stuff like that, you think he's fully deserving of the Young Player of the season.
Yeah, and I think his attitude too. I suppose. What is he? 20 years of age. Very young still. We all remember when we're 20 years of age and all the fool acting we get up to and stuff like that.
We were only on about my fool acting today.
You know what I mean? Exactly. And for a player to be as professional as him and has shown the talent and the consistency and the level-headedness of the last 2 seasons, to be a Champions League winner and to be a Premier League winner now, it's unbelievable. And to keep the same levels of performance over the course of 2 seasons, was it 3 seasons ago he made his debut?
Yeah, against United in Old Trafford.
Against United, and he hadn't a great game in that game either, did he? I think it was.
No, he played good in that game. It was the year after Marcus Rashford.
It was the year
I
after.
remember
In his
that.
pocket.
He was
So, like-
he was awful that game.
So like, for him to go to a level where he probably is the best right back in Europe right now, in the world.
Best attacking right back, yeah.
Attacking right back. Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So, yeah, fair play to him. That's hard to say now, but fair play.
Yeah.
To him. Like,
Jack.
transcends it. I suppose he transcends rivalry. As in, like, when someone is so good, people put rivalry to one side and kind of go, yeah, look, recognising a really great player. And that's what he does, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Jack, who is your Premier League young player of the year?
Mason Mount.
Mason Mount. I read a stat there earlier. He's the first homegrown player to make his debut in a season for Chelsea and play 50 games. I think that's an unbelievable stat, to be honest with you. And it's actually a bit of a scary stat that he's the first person to do that. But I think he has had an unbelievable season. He's had a few patches there. Don't get me wrong, though. He hasn't been the best player in the world, but he's if you watch him play, he doesn't stop running. He gets into great positions. He's on the ball. He's great to dribble with the ball. I think he's just an all-round great player, and I think he's going to be in the next couple of seasons. I think he's going to be our star man or one of our star men. The only other player I'd like to give a mention to is, I'm probably going to say his name completely wrong now, is Soyuncu. Is it Leicester's centre back?
Soyuncu, yeah, from Leicester, yeah.
Soyuncu. I think he is going to be an absolute world-class centre back as well, to be honest. I think he's had a good season.
Yeah,
but
look,
Trent Alexander-Arnold, realistically, but I thought I'd be a little bit biased and go for Mason Mount or Billy Gilmore.
Jack, do you think that Mount might be a little bit hampered by the signings that Chelsea are making at the moment, or do you feel he flourish in the side still?
To be honest with you, I think Lampard loves him. I think he absolutely loves him, and I think he will get game time. The way that Lampard utilises him, he'll play him out on the wing. He'll play him. He'll probably play two behind the striker as well. I think if Havertz comes in, I think Mount will play that role a little bit more. It's hard to know with Werner because he can play anywhere along the front three. So I'm not sure if we brought him as a striker or if he's going to be playing out on the wings. But
Chelsea could play that 4-2-2-2 formation. We can have two inverted attacking midfielders and your two sitting. So, for example, you could probably have Kante and Jorginho sitting, or Kante and Kovacic. And then you could have
Kovacic, yeah.
Like you could do it.
Sorry.
Like what Chelsea could do in that situation is that they could have Kante and Kovacic in the middle of the park, and you can have Havertz and you can have Havertz and Mount in them kind of attacking midfield roles. Like now, obviously Ziyech is probably left out there, but then obviously you have Ziyech in there. Then you could have maybe a Werner and Abraham up front. Like there's so many different formations that you can have with your new signings and your current players.
Not forgetting Pulisic as well, who is just. He is. Have you seen? Like, if you really watch him play, his dribbling and ability to keep the ball is really, really similar to Eden Hazard. It really is.
I love him on FIFA anyway. He's deadly in FIFA.
He's an absolute. His pace and acceleration are just different class, aren't they?
Yeah, look, I like Christian Pulisic. He's a very good player. He's very direct. You know, he can beat a man. You know, he can get in. They can get in behind. He can seem like he can do everything. Now, I think his physicality leaves him down sometimes, but like, look, yeah, I think more game time in the Premier League, he'll grow that over time. Just on your point of Mason Mount as well. Look, before Mason Mount played in the Premier League, he played against United in the Carabao Cup or whatever it's called these days. With Derby County last September, and he ran the show in midfield.
I remember that. Yeah. And the young lad as well that was gone to Bournemouth on loan from Liverpool. I can't remember his name now.
Brooks, is it?
Harry Wilson.
Yeah, Harry Wilson.
Yeah. He was really good that day as well, I think.
Yeah, but like Mason Mount was the standout player that day. Like he ran the show in midfield, and I kind of knew from that day that he would be a good player. And then seeing him with Chelsea this year, he's been absolutely fantastic.
He's transitioned from the Championship to the Premiership really, really well. Like, in fairness to him, He's still. There's still a season or two before I think you can put him at a really top level. I don't think he's there yet, but I think just from coming from never playing in the Premiership to this first season, I think he deserves a bit of credit, and a lot of people don't give it to him, which is unfortunate. But
now, my young player of the year, you probably know who I'm going to say. My young player of the year is Mason Greenwood. Mason Greenwood's goal scoring record for an 18-year-old coming into a team replacing Romelu Lukaku. It's been absolutely fantastic. He's had 16 goals to United this season. For a player who never played kind of Premier League football, he's absolutely fantastic, and the maturity he shows in his game for an 18-year-old player is just unbelievable. Like you don't know what his best foot is. Like he's absolutely fantastic. He can use both feet. He takes set pieces. Like he's just a fantastic player, and he's been a very big contributor to United's great form. Joe, obviously been in the race for top four. Now, look, obviously Trent Alexander-Arnold is a standout player, probably out of all of our choices. But I have to give Mason Greenwood Young Player of the Year. I think he's just been unbelievable, especially with the competition that he has there with Marcus Rashford and Anthony Martial. He's just been absolutely great this season.
Yeah,
all these
he has
Masons
been.
like a secret society, isn't it?
Sorry?
With all these Masons, it's like a secret society. I think. Mason Mount, Mason Holgate, yeah.
Mason Holgate, well, he actually has been very good for Everton this year. Like,
that's been very good.
An honourable mention. Absolutely. Do you know who we haven't mentioned, lads, for Young Player of the Year? And not one of us actually mentioned him. And, the Arsenal lads in the group chat will crack up if we don't mention him. Bukayo Saka from Arsenal. He's been absolutely unreal this season. And he's played every single position, and he's flourished in every single one of them.
Yeah, he's been good. Granted, he's been very, very good.
But
he's flown under the radar a little bit because of some of the other like Mason Greenwood and Trent Alexander-Arnold have been at the forefront. Like I think Sarko has on another year he would be the best player, but because these players have played so well, I think they've stole the limelight a little bit, and he doesn't maybe get as much press as the other lads. Do you know?
Yeah.
And what's really exciting about our conversation here is the 4 or 5 players you mentioned are all English.
Yeah.
That, like, when would that have ever happened the last 10 years that the Young Player of the Year would be those 4 or 5 nominations from England, especially under the age of 21. So look,
JB, let me ask you a quick question. Who do you think Tottenham's best young player has been this year?
Tanganga probably.
Yeah.
When he's played.
Yeah.
I'm
He's only,
thinking
22 or 3, is he?
22, yeah. 22.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Troy Parrott hasn't got a chance at Tottenham. He's a fantastic player.
Yeah, look, Troy at the moment isn't going to be fed to the Lions, but I think he should get an opportunity, especially after Christmas. There's so many injury problems up front. He probably should have got an opportunity there. But yeah, look, it's disappointing from an Irish standpoint that he isn't getting his game time. I know he's only back from appendicitis in the last couple of weeks. He's back training. So look, I think it'd be very hard for him to get an opportunity under Mourinho.
I think a loan move to the Championship might be the best thing for him.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, look, he played a couple of pre-season games last season. He came on against Juve, looked really good. I think he played against Bayern Munich as well pre-season. I know pre-season isn't nothing to talk about, but he didn't look out of place on the pitch. So yeah, I think he probably won't get his opportunity under Mourinho. He might go on loan. Loan to Championship would be really good for him.
Yeah, Mourinho's very, very particular when it comes to young players. I don't know. He look at some of the young players that he's missed, like in De Bruyne. I mean, probably up there with the top 5 players in the world easily.
Look what he done to Marcus Rashford at Man United. Just look what he done to Rashford United. He was ruining him. Rashford wanted to leave. Rashford wanted to leave over Mourinho.
I think young defensive players get more of a nod than attacking players with Mourinho, I think.
Yeah, Rafael Varane and Madrid.
Yeah, he doesn't have the trust in the young player, in young attacking players. The defensive players he seems to work better with. I think he needs to have established forwards and that he'll play rather than actually young prospects. But yeah, no, I think Tanganga was really good for us this season. Like he was, I suppose, pushed into the chopping block basically against Liverpool, and he had a really good game against them. He played right back, left back, and centre back for us this season. So he's really versatile, and he's going to sign a new contract in the next couple of days. It's talented. So look, I think he'll be one of our big players in the next couple of seasons. Ollie Skip too.
Yeah.
Ollie Skip hasn't got many opportunities this season, but I think he'll be a fantastic player in the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. And Harry Winks, he's still young as well, isn't he? He's
25 now.
Oh, is he? Oh, geez.
He's like Lingard. Everyone thinks he's still a young player.
Yeah, he's 25. Look, and you know what? Winks is one of those players where he isn't very flashy.
No,
he's effective.
He does what he does.
What he does, and at times Spurs fans probably get frustrated at him because of the fact that he's very much just holding midfielder, plays to his strengths, and isn't much more than that. But I think he's a really good squad player. I think Ollie Skip will be what Winks should have been. That's what me and Steve always speak about. That he has the potential. Like Ollie Skip isn't that far behind him now, and he's only 19. I think he could definitely push on to what Winks should have been. But look, I still love Winks. I think he's a Tottenham man through and through. And when you have a player who supports the team, playing for your team, obviously
you appreciate him that bit more.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like he could be an unbelievable player next season for us. Okay, and big teams could come knocking for him the season after, and there's not a chance he would go anywhere. He would not move. He's Tottenham through and through, and you need them boys in the dressing room too. Like you've probably seen this season, Jack, with your guys with Chelsea. A lot of them lads are Chelsea through and through, and it's benefited you this year in terms of teamwork and actually getting somewhere.
Yeah, no better example of that is Frank Lampard. You know, so like I think he's brought the players will play for him. They want to play for him. They want to do well for him. They trust that if they play well, they're going to get game time. And I don't think a lot of them would have had that under the likes of Sarri, maybe even Conte to some degree. But they can get it now. Like it's in reach. It's to play for Chelsea is in reach because look at all the players: Reece James, Billy Gilmore, Mason Mount, Tammy Abraham. They've all come in.
Tomori as well.
Tomori as well. Exactly. Sorry. And they've all got game time on the strength of how they train. And I think every manager will go into their press conference and they'll say, I'll pick the best 11 on that training session or whoever's training well will play, which is completely rubbish. It's like a line out of a book that they all read when they do press conferences because most managers pick the same players. Like it's just a fact of life. But I think Lampard has kind of shown, and even to some degree, the younger managers, look at Arteta as well and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as well at Man United. They're younger managers, but they're playing. They're managing a different way. They are playing the youth and trusting the youth, and it's absolutely paying off big time. Like look at the players we've just talked about. So,
what's the difference between a short-term results-based model to what a project-based model will look like? Where young managers like Arteta, Solskjaer, Lampard have the opportunity potentially to have 3 or 4 seasons. As project-based, it isn't about tomorrow. It's about 2 weeks' time or a month later or 2 or 3 years' time. So that's the difference, and that's the best way to develop young players because the next result doesn't matter as much. It's the follow-on effect for a number of seasons' time.
You're absolutely right, and we've never done that at Chelsea. It's never been our philosophy, and you know you can't blame some managers for not playing youth because they're always one game away from being sacked. And I think Lampard has definitely come into that role with assurances. Being a legend, I don't think they can get rid of him as easy without there being massive backlash from the supporters. And it's paying off. I mean, you could go out and spend 50, 60, 70, 80, 100, whatever million on player who's 22, 23, but yet you players there in your youth squad given the opportunity who are just as good, but they just never, ever, ever get that chance. And, you know, Mason Greenwood is look, 18. Like, I mean, look at him. He's 16 goals, I think you said, Keane. I mean,
Yeah.
would he ever have got that game time under Mourinho? Probably not.
Not a hope. Not a hope.
What it does also is, if you look this season for Chelsea, right? Look at someone like Billy Gilmore. He's there and looking at it and kind of going, well, like, if Mason Mount is getting game time, if Reece James is getting game time, if Tomori is getting game time, I can get game time. And it actually breeds that, I suppose, confidence that this is actually what the future looks like, rather than just being in the present. And he probably had the performance of the season for this year in the FA Cup. He got so many applause off of so many ex-pros and pundits and stuff. That is that a knock-on effect to what Lampard is now part of the club doing. Maybe not his management style, but actually him just being there has given younger players confidence in the fact that, yeah, I can make it. I can be a top player under this manager or in this club. And that just breeds success, I believe. That's what kind of happened at United in the early 90s.
And just to strengthen your point there, look at Callum Hudson-Odoi. He absolutely wanted to leave. Last year, his contract could have left at the end of this season. But on the strength of Lampard coming in, he signed a new long-term contract. Now, I know it's for an obscene amount of money. That's football. But he could have gone anywhere in the world, literally anywhere in the world.
Bayern Munich wanted him. They made a couple of offers for him.
Absolutely. And he probably would have played regularly there because they've got some brilliant young players as well. But on the strength of Lampard, he signed because he knew that he's going to get game time. Now, he hasn't had as much as he would like. And I know there's...
And now with the new players coming in, like, I think a loan move for Hudson-Odoi might be the right thing because...
Yeah, it's the injury. That injury is setting back so much. If it wasn't for that injury, he would be starting week in, week out now. And that's setting back. And I think there's a lot in the press at the moment that he's not happy and he wants to leave. To be honest, I don't believe it at all. I really don't. I do think a loan for next season would be absolutely beneficial.
Maybe to Leeds. I was only thinking this year yesterday.
Yeah.
Hudson-Odoi to Leeds wouldn't be a bad show.
Has to be a Premiership team though. Has to be a Premiership.
Absolutely. Lads, look, I suppose with the Young Player of the Year decision, it's actually brought on a great conversation about how their young players been led into the Premier League. Absolute great points. But look, I suppose we have come to the decision that Trent Alexander-Arnold has won the majority of the votes from ourselves here. So he is the weekly Armchair Kickoff Young Player of the Season, Premier League Young Player of the Season. Lads, Manager of the Year. Now this season, we've just talked about young managers and we've talked about established managers. Today on the weekly Armchair Kickoff Twitter page, we ran a Twitter poll for 4 managers, especially for Manager of the Year. So the 4 managers in question that we did go on the poll were Jurgen Klopp, Frank Lampard, Chris Wilder, and Nuno Espirito Santo. Hope I pronounced that right. So, like, I'm just going to come to you before I get to the results of the poll. I'm just going to come to you with regards to your Manager of the Year choices. Jack, I'm going to come to you with this, but I kind of have a sneaky suspicion who your choice is going to be.
I don't think you do, because I'm going to go for Jurgen Klopp. I'm only messing. Of course it's Lampard. Absolutely Frank Lampard. It's hard. Well, I don't know. Do you know what? I don't know. You could give it to get any of them, couldn't you? Chris Wilder, unbelievable job. An absolutely unbelievable job. Frank Lampard, first year in the Premiership, has created this atmosphere at the club that probably other fans won't understand or see because you don't follow the club or you're not Chelsea fans. But he's created this excitement and love of the club again, and enthusiasm of the youth and everything around it. And not only has he done that, but he's also one game away from the Champions League next year, one game away from a trophy, and I think he's brilliant. But honestly, I'll have to be honest and give it to Chris Wilder.
Okay, fair enough. Even though I think you voted for Lampard in the poll, but we won't go there.
But that's online. There's no way I could have pressed anyone else's name online. But this isn't even being recorded, so it doesn't matter. I can say what I like,
This is being recorded.
I'm very joking.
Jamie.
Frank Lampard. Yeah.
Jamie, who's your young player of the year? I say your young player of the year, manager of the year. Sorry, Jesus, it's been a long day.
Yeah, I'm going Chris Wilder as well. The way I decided was in terms of I looked at potential positions that I thought Sheffield United would finish at the start of the season, probably had in relegation, and where are they? They're 8, are they in the league?
Yeah.
8, so there are 11 positions, 12 positions higher than what I would have thought they would in terms of the depth of their squad, the actual manager himself, and because of that reason, he's definitely overachieved this season. He was talked about being in the Champions League for a little while, which is unbelievable. He's effectively decided the Champions League race in some degree as well, because he's had good results against Leicester. He's had a result against us. He's had a result against Chelsea.
Yeah.
You had a 3-3 draw against United as well.
He drew us at the beginning of the season as well. So he's taken scalps off the big managers this season, and to me that's an unbelievable achievement for that team. Like what Jack was saying about a manager that like Lampard, for instance, like he infuses this team mentality which can't be underestimated by anyone. Yeah. I don't know would he have it at another club. That's the one if I put on it, but at Sheffield United he makes it work perfectly. Yeah,
kind of like the Chris. Sorry, kind of like what you just said there is kind of like the Tony I can't even say his name. Pulis, Stoke. They remember them years where they were just unbelievable. Yeah. They just, yeah.
It's just something about it, and he just seems to be one of those people. I think he was asked a question a couple of weeks ago about people in the pub saying that basically they should have had his position, like they could be managers because they knew what to do and stuff, or was it a player or something? And he said no, like they've actually worked to get to that level. Like they've worked for years and years to either be a player or to be a manager, and that's the reason why they're.
He started from didn't he start from Sunday League or something all the way to the Premier League?
Exactly, and now he's basically in the Premier League with some of the best managers in the world, some of the best young managers in the world, some of the best teams in Europe, and he's actually competing. Like he isn't just scraping relegation. Like Aston Villa probably have a better team than Sheffield United.
I think they had all the teams that come up. They were the team that I thought would have been rock bottom. To be fair, yes. And how wrong I was.
Well, I thought Norwich were going to be rock bottom. They are.
You got it right. and can I just say for Chrissy Gearan, if he's listening, Chris Wilder and Sheffield United have done what Arsenal haven't managed to do in a long, long time, and that's beat a top club. So.
He's not like
that. FA Cup fire now, that is.
Don't worry. We will have an FA Cup final preview coming soon. I just thought I'd plug that there.
Looking forward to that one.
I think Chris Wilder has to be given the utmost respect. I just think that it's just been a brilliant season for Sheffield United. I would never have put them in a position of 8. No. And it was funny what Chrissy said too. I was getting into Chrissy territory here now. But Chrissy said they haven't been great since the restart. What's that mean? They haven't been great since the restart. They've still picked up points. The reason why you're looking at it that they haven't been great is because they haven't achieved the heights of what they achieved for the previous 28 games, or 26 games.
The reason why Chrissy is probably saying that because didn't they get beaten by 10th place Arsenal?
I think it might be that actually, yeah. But that's also for who's 8 and who's 10th. Sheffield United are 8 and he's below Arsenal are 10th, but they're going to win an FA Cup apparently, and then they're going to get up Meccano, and they're going to get all these players. So they're going to get Thomas Partey. Thomas Partey is going to sign from Atletico Madrid to sign for 10th place Arsenal, who lost an FA Cup final to Chelsea. Never going to happen.
Ridiculous. Look.
And Sheffield United absolutely played us off the park there a few games ago as well. To be fair to him, but Chris Wilder done a tactical masterclass against us. So
against a lot of teams this season, and it isn't only it's been an amazing season for them, and I would love nothing more than them to actually push on next season and be in around 9.
That's what it'll tell next season.
Will they get second season syndrome?
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
And they're going to have their recruitment has been phenomenal for the most part this year. Sanderberg, I think his name is.
Sanderberg, yeah.
He was meant to go to United in January. Do you know that, lads? And then we got Bruno in instead.
Yeah.
And John Fleck, like with how many players of the season, John Fleck was unbelievable up to. He got injured just after the restart, but he was unbelievable this season. Unbelievable. And they have a really good Irish contingent too. So obviously
that's what I'm just about to get to.
Big John Egan.
So
Johnny Egan more than Gary Egan now, I'd say. No, that's
no one wants to speak or see Gary Egan now for the next 6 months until he gets this whole Liverpool winning the league out of his system. God.
Lads, I think it's no secret who my manager of the year is as well. It's unanimous between the four of us that it's Chris Wilder. I think for Sheffield United to come off from the Championship and be eight in the league is absolutely fantastic. They've done an unbelievable job. And for Chris Wilder to bring in these Irish players, especially, Enda Stevens, John Egan, David McGoldrick. Like, David McGoldrick is a Premier League striker. Like, he's done a fantastic job of bleeding these Irish players in, and it's probably going to help Stephen Kenny with the international team in terms of top flight experience. But definitely, like, even you mentioned John Fleck, like Ollie McBurney, he's done a fantastic job with him. He's done a fantastic job with him. And like you look at, like, even investment wise, Sheffield United haven't spent the money of the likes of an Aston Villa, haven't spent 40 million like Newcastle have done on Joe Linton. They haven't spent the money that maybe clubs in the round have spent. Like Arsenal spent money in the summer as well. Do you know what I mean? And Arsenal are stuck in fucking 10th, and Sheffield United are 8th. Like, I don't mean to throw a dig at Arsenal again, but I kind of have to, because
and it's only down the league they're going as well, not up. That's the worst thing for Arsenal fans. They're not getting any better; they're getting worse.
Yeah, but look, we won't talk about them because, like, apparently they're on the up and they're the best team in the world. But back on the point of Sheffield United, I think they've been absolutely fantastic. I think Chris Wilder has been very integral to that. Like, let's say, for example, if they came up with it from the Championship with a manager like, let's say, an Alan Pardew or any other manager kind of in around that category, they wouldn't be where they are. They'd probably be in around the relegation zone. But look, the job Chris Wilder has done, he's done absolutely fantastic. And I think it speaks volumes when 4 fans from Man United, Chelsea and Tottenham Hotspur are all saying that Chris Wilder is manager of the year, considering Liverpool have won the title with 20 plus points. Do you know what I mean? It shows the job that Chris Wilder has done for Sheffield United.
I think too, Keane, I think if a big point here now, right, is if Leeds were to finish in a similar position to what Sheffield United have done this season, they'd have a double-decker bus out on the road, else Ellen Road next season. They will, because that's how good of a job that has been done by Sheffield United. If Leeds finish 8th or 9th next season, they will be absolutely delighted. Which I don't think they will next season. It might be the year after. But I think that's a very big point of how hard it is for a team to come up, and finish as high as what they have. The only ones really in recent memory you can think of were like Ipswich in 2002. They finished top 4, didn't they? I think it was.
They was in the Champions League, weren't they?
Yeah. Well, they got to the qualifier. I think they got knocked out in the qualifier.
They get beat. They played into Milan, or was that the Europa League? Maybe I
think it was the Europa League. I think it was. And then you had, like, I suppose,
Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough, where they got to the Europa League final and they got absolutely trashed.
Stoke as well, when they came up first.
Fulham as well, yeah.
So they got to a champ.
You have to look at
Roy Hodgson got the Liverpool job because of Fulham getting to the Europa League final.
Yeah, they got beaten by
against Juve. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, that's actually one of my favourite games I've watched live, to be fair.
I remember that, yeah.
With the most outrageous lob of all time.
I remember that game.
So, lads, in terms of our topics, all great topics, and it's great conversation tonight. Now, I'm going to get to the Twitter poll. So, in 4th place, which kind of me and Jack kind of hope that United or Chelsea get this weekend, is Nuno Espirito Santo with 0% of the votes. He didn't receive 1 vote. We actually didn't even mention how good of a job he done with Wolves. He's done fantastic.
Brilliant.
Just like to get definitely an honourable mention. Jack hopes that he doesn't continue that on the weekend. In 3rd place, we have Frank Lampard with 15% of the votes.
Fix. Chrissy G's been making fake accounts so he can vote
That's what it is.
You just know he's done it.
In second place, we have Jurgen Klopp with 38% of the votes. He was out in front for a while, but in first place, our weekly Armchair Kickoff Manager of the Year, lads, Chris Wilder with 46% of the votes.
Unreal.
Absolutely.
Look,
Absolutely.
and I suppose for Jurgen Klopp, look, it is an unbelievable achievement. Let's not forget that. It's been unbelievable what Liverpool have done. Especially at the back of a Champions League defeat, or a Champions League win last year and finishing second last year, to be able to recover and then be able to win the league shows massive mentality, and it shows.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I don't have COVID or anything like that. That was just a genuine.
Oh, I thought, yeah.
Liverpool. You know, we're
Thank
doing
God
well
this
and
is
all
remote now, and we're not.
I thought it was either you had a problem with me or you had a problem with Liverpool. So
that.
but yeah, look. In fairness to Klopp, he definitely has instilled a win mentality there. Over the course of the season or the last couple of seasons, so
yeah.
But at the start of the season, the reason why he didn't get Manager of the Year for me is the start of the season. If I'm looking at where Liverpool are going to finish, I would say second or first. And because I would have said Wilder would have finished 20th, and he's finished 12 places higher potentially than what he was.
Than predicted, yeah.
That's
absolutely.
The reason why
Look, Klopp's done a fantastic job. Like over the 5 years he's been with Liverpool, so like, look, he'll probably get it next year if they win it. Like, but so for the moment, Chris Wilder, unanimously weekly Armchair Kickoff Manager of the Year.
Chris Wilder, I love you, boy.
Lads, so the final part of this podcast is a new concept we have. It's called Listeners' Questions. So we came up with this concept last week. We said, look, at the end of every podcast, we will have questions in from our listeners. Now, we've a couple of questions from listeners that are directed to myself, to Jack, and to Jamie. Now, I actually didn't get a chance to ask Steve the Tottenham-related question, but Jamie, you're going to answer this on his behalf, okay?
Oh, no.
So the first question I got asked, and it was from Dale O'Donnell from Stretty News. If in the event that Jose Mourinho does melt down and he does get the sack, would you take Marcel Bielsa as his successor?
I'm in silence. That's a great question. He basically like Pochettino was Bielsa's understudy for years. I think they're actually from the same village. I think Pochettino and Murphy, is it Murphy? I think in Argentina. I wouldn't say no. I wouldn't say no to it. But I think if Mourinho was to leave, the only manager I would want at Spurs, Keane knows who it is, but I think it'd be very hard to get him, would be Julian Nagelsmann from Leipzig. I know that he turned down Real Madrid last summer, I think it was, the manager. So yeah, he's the only manager really that I would want in terms of being if you're looking at progressive coach, he probably is the new Klopp, Pep, that kind of style of manager. I
think I'm older than him as well.
Sorry?
I think I'm older than him.
Yeah, he's 30. He's 34, isn't he? I think he is.
He's something like that. Yeah, geez.
He's very good, young, up and coming, fantastic.
Apparently, he has some mad methods too, like cameras literally all over the training ground, listening to players' conversations, everything. Like apparently,
I thought you were going to say cameras in opposition's training grounds. I thought it
no. He basically spoiling all his players and stuff. And apparently, it's crazy stuff. Like, but look, Bielsa, that's a really interesting one. Now we will go from two contrasting managers, but maybe if Mourinho had a meltdown, the club would probably be in bits as it is, and maybe Bielsa probably isn't the right man to come in and steady a ship. But it'd be some crack, I'd say. That it'd be some laugh. He looks like some laugh. In fairness to him, it looks like he'd be going drinking in Dungarvan on a Saturday night and then managing Ellen Road on a Sunday morning. Like
you wouldn't catch him in O'Keefe's on a Saturday night.
Wouldn't catch him in O'Keefe's on a Saturday night.
You've got something like
that was a very good question. That was the most unexpected question I've ever probably got. So I know I didn't even have a kind of a flicker of an answer on my brain there.
I'd like to hear Steve's opinion on this. I'm going to ask him in the group chat when we finish recording.
Look,
I'd like to hear his opinion on it.
I suppose the link between Poch and Bielsa is the main one too. So, look, maybe if you got Bielsa into the dugout and then like Poch was like his assistant, maybe that might be good. Might be a good option.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Jack, William Bryant, podcast regular, asked this question: who will cause the shock in the final games of the season on Sunday?
I think the main shocks are probably going to come from the bottom of the table, to be honest. I don't necessarily think the way the table is in the relegation zone is necessarily the way it's going to finish. It's so hard to call with the goal difference being so slight. The teams, I mean, Aston Villa played unbelievable the other day against Arsenal and got a win. I mean, so there's a win in them. I mean, any of them could go up or down, and I think between that and the top four, I mean, God, I don't know. It's an impossible question.
If you had to pick one, if you're put on the spot and I gave you 500 quid now, go into Paddy Power and place a bet.
I think the game of the final day is going to have to be Man United and Leicester. I mean, that should be billed as the $1 billion game. You know, like there's so much money on that game. Whoever wins gets Champions League football, and that we know how much money is in the Champions League. So that's going to be the game. But in terms of upsets, I don't know. I don't think there'll be. I don't know. I really don't. Bottom of the table, I think.
But I was going to say myself, maybe Bournemouth. I think that's if you had to pick one, I was going to pick maybe a shock hard that Man United actually win a game when it matters. But but no, I'll go with Bournemouth. Maybe Eddie Howe might scrape it.
Do you know what? I wouldn't be upset if he did, to be honest with you, because I do like Bournemouth. I think they've done really well over the last few seasons. I mean, this season he had when at the beginning of the season, actually, I thought that they were going to do really well because they signed some really good players with Nathan Ake and Tyrone Mings, wasn't it? No, not Tyrone Mings. Who am I thinking of?
He used to be at Bournemouth, Tyrone Mings.
Yeah, sorry, I'm thinking of Nathan Ake and the young fella Harry Wilson. I thought it was going to be good, but unfortunately, it's not happened.
Now this third question is from Shane Dowley, our newest member of the weekly Armchair Kickoff podcast. The Ballon d'Or was obviously cancelled this week. Now, with regards to, like, I suppose there was always a bias between like Messi and Ronaldo and stuff like that. So Shane has asked, with the Ballon d'Or being cancelled this week, if the Ballon d'Or went ahead, who is in all of our top three? So I'm going to go first with regards to my top three. I had no Messi and no Ronaldo in my top three this year. I've gone with Robert Lewandowski winning Ballon d'Or. I have Sergio Ramos in second. He's been absolutely unbelievable for Madrid, and he's centre-back record for scoring goals and stuff like that this year has been fantastic. And I've gone for a wild card and Karim Benzema as third. His form this season has been fantastic, and Zinedine Zidane came out and heavily praised Benzema's efforts this year when they won the title. So I've gone with them three. I've gone Robert Lewandowski, Sergio Ramos, and Karim Benzema. Jamie, do you have anyone different to that in your top three for Ballon d'Or this year?
No, I would probably have Lewandowski and Sergio Ramos, definitely. Number three is a tough one. I can't even think of a number three, to be honest.
Sadio Mane, maybe.
Maybe Mane, yeah. I think
Done
it
really
all
well this
depends really on how the Champions League ends, and that's a big one, of course. I think, like, if City were to go on and win the Champions League and De Bruyne was heavily involved and influenced in that win, potentially he could get into it because of the fact that it's such a big competition. But it's a bit harder to judge this year because of the fact that you haven't got the Euros and you only really have the domestic leagues. But you know what? Sergio Ramos has to get a mention, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're not saying this now to wind Gary Egan up or anything like that. It's genuine.
Oh, it's 33, is it?
Yeah.
I think I was actually saying to Shane. Shane had up on Twitter last week about it. That, like, this season, Real have only conceded 22 goals in the league or 23 goals in the league all season, and Ramos has scored 9 in the league.
Jesus.
Like, do you know what I mean? So like he scored a third of the goals that they've conceded in the season. That's just unbelievable. And they've been under the radar this season, Real Madrid, I think. I suppose they had the loss to Man City and it took the gloss off the season a little, but they've
like I suppose it was kind of Barcelona let it go, and Real Madrid were in third for a while, and then Real Madrid kept winning, and they eventually won the league. They've been very consistent. As much as I don't like them,
I've seen some clips of that Vinicius Junior through the season, and he's been absolutely ridiculous in games. He's been absolutely tearing as a thunder, and he'll be unbelievable in the next probably 2 or 3 years, I think.
Yeah,
he's only young as well.
Until the Real Madrid fans start abusing him, and then
here's a player now that no one's mentioned. And now he's quite young, but Erling Haaland. 45 goals or something like that in 40 games.
Maybe he's a good show for third place, yeah?
Yeah, he's a good show, actually, in fairness. Especially the fact that he's shown that he can do it in the Austrian league isn't much to shout about. But look, you can only play as good as what you're put in front of. What he did in the Champions League, he's
Bundesliga.
Did he score 4 against Liverpool in 2 games?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I
in
can't
the
remember.
Bundesliga, he's done it everywhere. I mean, like, so he did it in Champions League again, then for Borussia, again then against PSG. Yeah, I think he's unbelievable. I think that he's definitely a robot or something. That's what everyone is saying, aren't they?
He got thrown out of a nightclub last week for celebrating, apparently.
Did he? Yeah, I seen him. He was cutting trees with his father. Then
I seen that picture. That looked like the nicest place on earth to be. Absolutely, all I wanted to be when I looked at that photo was in the background, just chopping down a tree or something. I don't know.
Just unbelievable. Yeah, Haaland is a good shout. In fairness, that's a really good shout. Mason Mount is a shout.
Jack, who is your Ballon d'Or top 3?
I think I'd definitely put Cristiano Ronaldo in there purely because of the age he is now, and he's still an absolute machine. We're still talking about him as being in the top 2 best players on the planet. What is he, 36 maybe? Something like that?
35. 34, 35, something around that.
35.
And I know that's not that old in this day and age as a footballer, but it is for an attacking player. Now, for a defender, you get away with that age, but as an attacking player, to be that age, to be still at the top of his game, I think he's just a phenomenon, really. You'd say Kylian Mbappe, maybe. I know the French league isn't highly thought of, but he's still a world-class player. Mason Mount, maybe. I don't know.
I was gonna put the penalty king and Bruno Fernandes in there, but no.
You can't. He's had.
I'm only messing. I always said that because I know Steve will watch back on this later.
I definitely put Sadio Mane in there. I think he's been phenomenal this season.
So you're gone Ronaldo, Mbappe,
Ronaldo.
Mane.
No, Ronaldo, Haaland, and Sadio Mane.
I think also for if there's like a young Ballon d'Or player, I think Alphonso Davies definitely deserves
a mention.
A mention there because
Mbappe would probably get it, to be honest. Like
probably would, but
he's still in that age bracket.
Is just
he's been phenomenal. When he played against when Bayern beat us 3-0, he was absolutely brilliant. He just made bits of us.
I don't know. I think he's the biggest person in the whole world.
He's quicker than Usain Bolt.
Oh, he's like Canadian too, is he? Is he Canadian?
Yeah,
he is. Yeah.
It's just so strange like that.
But I think he was.
It's like the
USA. Born in Canada, or moved to Canada or something. I don't think his background is Canadian. I think.
One day playing, he was playing for Seattle Sounders, was it before he went to?
Yeah, someone like
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone in Toronto, wasn't it? I think.
Could be. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, he's just unbelievable. Anyway, like. Jesus Christ.
Sure.
Probably a nominee for the he's probably a nominee for the Golden Boy Award. I think
Golden Boy, that's the one. Yeah, that's the one.
I think we can all agree with that. And finally, lads, I kept this question for last. Callum McFadden from Football CFB alluded to this at the end of the last podcast. And if anyone who watched the last one about when we on the Keane on United show, we did ask at the end of the podcast who's going to win the league next season. And Callum gave a very dubious answer. If anyone who watched, he gave Arsenal as his answer, as a very tongue-in-cheek answer.
What's Chrissy year I'm paying him like?
I don't think he was serious, but Callum has asked me to ask you guys, will Arsenal win the league next season?
If they were in the Championship, maybe, but they're in the Premierships, and no, definitely not.
Jamie, do you have any different opinions with regards to that?
Say, probably a better chance of Chris Wilder holding the trophy over his head next May or June, whenever the season would end.
Yeah,
more chance of Tottenham, more chance of Spurs winning the trophy than there is now of Arsenal winning the league.
The friendly conversation has been seized.
It had to go at some point.
I think I represent myself, and I know Steve would probably share my sentiment with this as well. I think Arsenal are further to the relegation zone. They're closer to getting relegated than they are to win the league. To be fair,
100%. 100%.
So I think look, Mikel Arteta is a fantastic manager. So I think Arsenal is going to be a springboard for him to maybe go to Barcelona. I think that's how I feel. I think he is going to be a top manager. But that, as Jamie alluded to on a previous podcast, I think it was the last podcast you were on, Jamie. He said that the project at Arsenal is too hard for any manager to succeed. But I think Mikel Arteta, I think we can all agree, he's progressive. He's in that line of progressive managers like Pochettino and stuff like that.
I'd say something here now. I think Arteta will have a better chance at his former club, Everton, at winning something than he would at Arsenal.
Jesus, I tell you, as soon as if Chris Skerrin watches this, he's going to be bawling.
I'm not. I'm being honest though. I'm being honest to God. I think he would play better football at. I think Arteta is too good for Arsenal. And if Arsenal do well next season, it's nothing to the players. It's just because of the fact that he is a really good manager. And I think that honestly, I think that the team at Everton is a better team than the Arsenal team.
So I think we've all just come to like a general consensus. I know Steve McGrath probably agree as well, and he did jump off early, that Arsenal won't win the league next season and probably not for the next 10 years.
10 years? Even though that's being generous, but yeah.
Will they qualify for the Champions League in the next 10 years?
We don't know. Look, lads, to be honest, with the way football is going, I'm not going to say no to that because, like, if they do qualify for, like, screen record is a thing, so, and clips can be edited, so I'm not going to go that far.
Yeah.
And do you know the worst thing is? After saying all this stuff now that I've just slagged off Arsenal, they'll probably go ahead now and beat us in the FA Cup final, and I'll look like an absolute melon.
Sure, look, that's what you have to do sometimes. You have to give your opinion to sometimes maybe it be pie in your face, but look, you just have to do it because otherwise
you have to take that slice of humble pie if it happens.
You do, yeah.
I'll just go into hiding for a while.
Lads, thanks for coming on tonight. It was a fantastic chat. It's probably the longest podcast we've probably had, but I've thoroughly enjoyed this podcast. And look, it's great to be doing a podcast on my birthday today. So, you know.
Happy birthday.
Thanks, bye.
What are you
24.
Jeez, you're only a baby still.
Jesus, I thought you were older.
Fuck off. So look, just for our listeners, I do have a bit of an announcement to make on the podcast. On Saturday on the Keane on United show, we have Terry Flowers from the Football Terrace coming on, and we will be doing a more in-depth view on the upcoming Manchester United versus Leicester game. And then on Monday on the Keane United show again, we'll be doing a Manchester United season review on the Keane United show, and I am joined by Adam Stoff from the United Stand, and I will be joined by Shane Dowdy as well on both podcasts. This will be available on Spotify, Twitter, YouTube, Buzzsprout, Apple and Google Podcasts, and we will maybe post a few clips on Facebook as well. I do have a lot more content planned for the next few weeks. I'd just like to kind of announce now as well, In September, we will have a new show coming soon. It's called the London Club Show. It will be hosted by Jamie, Jack, Steve McGrath. Chrissy Kieran will be a sporadic guest on it as well.
Whenever they win, every 4 or 5 weeks.
But yeah, look, we do have a lot more content planned for the weekly Armchair Kickoff. And look, I really do appreciate everyone's support over the last couple of weeks. For everyone who's reached out and do really appreciate our content. You know, we all do here at the weekly Armchair Kickoff. We all do really appreciate and do send our thanks to everyone. If lads, do you want to give any of your social medias a shout out there for our listeners on Twitter?
I don't even know what mine is, to be honest.
It's at Jack Clemson with an @ sign for the A.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
What Keane said, and yeah, thanks.
Yeah. I would recommend that if you're planning on following Jack Clemson, I saw on his feed last night that he was throwing out a lot of shade against Liverpool, Man United fans, and so on. So, if you're looking
and can I just say, I have been known to get banned for arguing with rival fans. So just be careful.
It was a good old verbal ruckus last night. Trying to start off on your timeline, but yeah, look, I definitely appreciated the banter.
Absolutely.
And you can follow Jamie, lads, at Mackie Murphy on Twitter. And if you're a Tottenham fan, you're watching this, any Tottenham related tweets, and he's a very big UFC fan as well, and Puxley does often tweet about that as well. So
wrestling
and WWE as well, the realest sport in the land. And just if you want to follow me, I am at Keane_Franey on Twitter. And you can also follow me on Instagram as well, at KeaneF23, where I will be posting up more football related posts. And of course, if you haven't already, do follow the @Weekly Armchair on Twitter. Thanks very much, lads, for coming on, and enjoy your evening.
Thanks, Keane.
Cheers.
Thanks very much,
lads.
Cheers.
Jack.